Good afternoon and welcome along to this Community Elements show on this Friday, and I say welcome to Brian.
And welcome to you, Rob.
Thank you.
Pleased to be here.
I'm very pleased that you are here too.
Thank you.
And now you have four more great good news stories which you have collated from the same newspaper, I gather.
They are indeed from the Evening Express.
Yeah. But sometimes you go for other newspapers.
Occasionally.
Yeah, and we would encourage you to go for more different ones.
I'll think about that.
And at this point, Brian is also collating his top 10 news stories.
Oh, yes.
How are you getting on with that?
Oh, I've already got about 50, so I will need to be cutting it down quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah. But I enjoy checking them over, each one, and trying to decide which are the most beneficial. So the trouble is, of course, it might disappoint some other people that I haven't chosen their one. But every story that I read out is a worthwhile story, or I would not be reading it.
No. Indeed. And Brian's been doing this continuously for about 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And you must have at least 500, 600, 700?
Easily. I don't have enough fingers to count all that much.
Anyway, brilliant, Brian. Off you go.
Thank you. The wife of a man who almost died after his heart stopped for 7 minutes has raised more than £2,500 for a new defibrillator to save another life. Dad on 2, Chris Arnott, was taking part in a rugby training session when he suddenly collapsed and suffered a cardiac arrest on the pitch. The 33-year-old, who is still recovering in hospital, was helped by his quick-thinking teammates who performed CPR and used a nearby defibrillator to get his heart started again, saving his life. Chris's wife Dawn of Fraserburgh and her rugby club are both fundraising to buy new defibrillators, with Dawn's Just Giving page already raising more than £2,500. Dawn said, "Myself and Chris have been overwhelmed by all the support that has been shown. We just want to give back a bit to the community, and if we can save another life, then that's worth it. We have been so lucky, and it could have been totally different." The rugby club is also fundraising for a defibrillator and has asked local sporting clubs if they would chip in to get one to be kept at James Ramsey Park, where the incident happened. In a statement, the club said, "It's crucial that the public has more knowledge of the whereabouts of these life-saving pieces of kit." Scottish Rugby have invited Chris and Dawn, along with their children and Chris's teammates, to the Scotland v Argentina match at Murrayfield on November 24th. A spokesman for Scottish Rugby said, "We were inspired to read the story in the Evening Express of true and selfless teamwork from the players at Fraserburgh RFC. Colin Cooper, Andy Cooley, Robbie McMillan and Jordan Yejo, as they fought to save the life of their teammate Chris Arnott." Speaking from his hospital bed, Chris, who lives in Rosehearty, said, "I'm so incredibly humbled by the support my family and I have been shown. The generosity of the local community has been phenomenal. The Just Giving page reached its target for one defibrillator in under 24 hours. My hope is that we can turn this potentially tragic situation into something positive and save another life in the future." To donate to the crowdfunding page, visit https://bit.ly/2p51JAD. A city church has celebrated its 150th anniversary, with the public invited inside. Gilcomston Church on Union Street celebrated its birthday earlier this month. The building opened its doors on September 5, 1868, and was designed by architect William Smith. Jerry Middleton, minister at the church, said, "We were excited to celebrate our 150th birthday and saw this as a great opportunity to invite people to see inside our church. We have many occasions throughout the week when the people of Aberdeen are invited into the church, but this was a great opportunity to people to come in, to meet some of our members and to find out more about our building and our weekly activities. It was constructed at a cost of £5,000, with work beginning in April 1867. Its opening was documented by the newspaper at the time, the Aberdeen Journal. The article published on September 9, 1868 read, "This handsome edifice, the erection of which was commenced in April 1878, was opened for public worship on Sunday last. The church was crowded each of the 3 occasions, and appropriate discourses were delivered by the officiating clergyman. It is so rare a thing to record the completion of a new ecclesiastical structure here, and one that really enhances the architectural aspect of the city." On opening, 3 services were held, with all 3 crowded with members of the public, and more than £81 was collected at the time. A celebration was held at the weekend to mark the occasion, with its opening up for Doors Open Day for the first time. Over the past 150 years, notable events have included the visit of Billy Graham, the American evangelist. A man trying to raise awareness of alcoholism wants to launch a booze-free nightclub in the city, inspired by similar schemes around the world. The North Sea Garden Mission, run by Alister Mackinnon, wants to attract teenagers and young people to the enterprise to give them an alternative place to go without the influence of alcohol. It is a project that has been in the works for a number of years. It would follow the same general scheme as a regular nightclub, however, removing the ability to purchase alcohol on the site, promoting sobriety and raising awareness of the danger of binge drinking. Alister said, "I'm starting up an alcohol-free nightclub in Aberdeen. I really believe that awareness is important. We were hoping to use the Albine nightclub, but it's been shut down, so we are now looking at renting or buying the property. We have got a lot of interest, and the police and hospital said they are interested. I'm going to be going round some of the schools in the next few weeks, the ones close to Albine, to ask the children what they think. It works in Sweden and parts of America." The Albine in the west end of the city closed down in April, after being in business for 13 years. Alister, a recovering alcoholic, has been raising awareness about the dangers of alcoholism for the past few years and launched the first programme focused on dangerous drinking among North Sea oil workers. He set up the North Sea Garden Mission to raise awareness of alcohol abuse, which can be prevented. Part of his work has seen him visiting North Sea workers, teenagers, schools and churches to spread the message. A deaf elderly patient was given a special surprise as doctors and nurses learned how to wish her happy birthday in sign language. Margaret McRobbie of Manifield was faced with the prospect of spending her 88th birthday in Aberdeen Royal Infirmary after being admitted with chest pains. Her son Dennis, 59, went to visit with a cake and flowers when the ward staff made the heartwarming gesture by serenading the pensioner with a rendition of Happy Birthday in British Sign Language. Dennis said, "My mum was admitted to the hospital after complaining of chest pains, and we had been awaiting the results of some tests. We had previously thought she would be sent home before her birthday, but the doctor said the results would take a little bit longer than expected. We were disappointed, but planned to come in anyway to celebrate with her." What the McRobbie family had not anticipated was that doctors and nurses on the ward who had overheard the birthday plans would then spend their breaks learning the signs for the lyrics of Happy Birthday. Margaret, who had worked for most of her life in the laundry department at Wood End Hospital, has been deaf from birth and now lives in sheltered accommodation in Craigielee Gardens. Dennis, who is the only hearing member of his immediate family, spoke of his surprise at the kind act. He said, "My family had gathered in my mum's room when the nurses and doctor came in to sing Happy Birthday. My mum was very surprised and got emotional, as we all did." Dennis from Udney Green has recently started a job at Aberdeen Royal Infirmary as a porter after a career in the oil and gas industry. He said, "So far, when working at the hospital, I have been surprised how many people know basic sign language. I think my mum has got used to people not always being able to communicate, but it's great when people make the effort. This is the first time anything like this has happened." Dennis's partner, Carol Craig, was so touched that she contacted NHS Grampian to thank them for their work. Staff nurse on Ward 110, Dawn Kane, said, "We are bowled over by the kind words of the Craig family. It was a pleasure to mark this birthday in such a special way." Now, I'd like to include a text which speaks volumes for that last article we've just read. It's taken from Matthew chapter 19 and verse 19. It says, "Honour thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself." Now, I think it's obvious how it fits into the final article there, because the mother was mentioned, the son really gave her attention, but this loving the neighbour as herself, the hospital staff really showed their love for her. Now, this story really stands out for me, and we've talked about me getting my 10 favourite stories together.
I think this
for the last year.
I think this would actually have to almost be one of those ones that you would choose.
That, Rob, is a guarantee.
Oh, good. Well, I'm very pleased to hear that, because that is a really special story about the staff at the hospital going the extra mile. And I mean, it puts me in some ways to shame that, perhaps I should be learning sign language too, to be able to, communicate the gospel. Yet, it's a case of how far are people prepared to go.
That's true.
And the hospital staff, certainly for what they did, they went they go the extra mile every day, but it demonstrates that they will go the extra mile for a patient.
In this instance, they were using their brakes. Now, their brakes are for their benefit, but they were using their brakes even for the benefit of this patient. Now, that is going the extra mile. And I am extremely impressed with this one. Mm-hmm. So you will be hearing it again.
Good. Well, we'll look forward to that one. That coming up probably closer to December, listeners. But the other one that I suppose particularly stood out for me was the first one that you did, and it was about the defibrillators. You cannot highlight too much the effects that these devices actually can have on life. And even if you didn't know too much about first aid, many of these devices now are much more effective than humans in diagnosing and actually telling you what to do. And they guide you step by step through what needs to be done. So you put the pads in the right place. They test things electronically, and then when it's all in place, they then tell you when to push the button, or if you need to push the button to deliver a shock. But it'll be the machine that does that.
That sounds excellent. So they give you the instructions how to do it, and so they're easy to follow.
They are easy to follow. Yes, it's a good idea to have a training in that, and to actually be first aid trained to actually use such a thing. But people who are first aid trained shouldn't be afraid to use these machines, because they really do, and they really can save a life, probably well over and above what first aiders could do themselves.
That's encouraging, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the first rule of first aid is to do no harm, and obviously to help the patient to recover. So constantly you're in a bit of sometimes a dilemma. What should you do? You may not want to break people's ribs, but then again, if you give people life, then again you have to weigh all these things up. But
The life is
Yeah.
the important part, isn't it? Even if you break a rib, you're still giving them life. You don't want to break a rib, but,
no, but
if you need to in order to give them life, surely that's more important.
yeah, and there's constantly new training coming out. So every time I go for training, we get told subtly different things at each training session. So sometimes some things are in vogue and sometimes other things are in vogue. Essentially, first aid sort of remains the same. You follow certain protocols.
And it's all beneficial.
Yes.
Excellent.
Definitely. So, I mean, that was good about Gilcomston celebrating its 150 years.
Indeed.
It would be lovely if many churches had as many people coming in. I know one church that does have lots and lots of folks going in on a regular basis in Aberdeen, but it would be good if more churches had that. More churches were crowded out. I mean, today, even as we're sitting here recording this, we were up at Torres and Fittix and we happened to see a funeral which looked to be very well attended, in fact. But so many people, they just go to church when it's that time, when they're paying their respects, but that's the only time.
We need to go more regularly to pay our respects, not to the deceased, but to the Lord for what he has done for us.
Right. Brian, can I get you to repeat the scripture, please?
Willingly. It's taken from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 19 and verse 19, and it says, "Honour thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself." Amen.
The basic principles,
Yes.
but very, very important. And
Crucial.
okay, Brian, thank you very much for coming in, and we shall see you again next week at the same time.
We will look forward to that. Thank you.